Now in prime time from the Bay Area's local news station, you're watching KRON4 News at 8.
Tonight at 8, Governor Newsom did not like seeing videos like this that were taken over the weekend. What he says is next for the state if groups continue to gather at beaches.
And millions in the Bay Area forced to stay at home through the end of May. The revisions to the guidelines city leaders say they're working on this week.
And a horrific discovery in San Francisco, what police say they found inside a refrigerator in this Sunset District apartment. Thank you for joining us tonight at 8 o'clock, everybody. I'm Grant Lotus.
And I'm Vicki Liviakis. Tonight, we know 6 Bay Area counties will issue revised shelter-in-place orders later this week. They'll mostly keep current restrictions in place, extending them through May. But some restrictions will reportedly be eased for a few lower risk activities.
The 6 counties are Alameda, Contra Costa, Marin, San Francisco, San Mateo, and Santa Clara counties. Health officials say they'll release more details when the orders are officially updated later this week.
And tonight, Governor Gavin Newsom says he is not happy about the images of crowded beaches in California over the weekend. Our Capitol Bureau reporter Ashley Zavala explains his warning and his plea to the state.
Those images are an example of what not to see. People, what not to do.
Governor Gavin Newsom.
This virus doesn't take the weekends off.
Irritated by packed beaches in Ventura and Orange counties over the weekend. The governor pleading for Californians to be more careful.
The reality is we are just a few weeks away, not months away, from making measurable and meaningful changes to our stay-at-home order.
Newsom warning local and state law enforcement will step up physical distancing and stay-at-home order enforcement. He says this weekend just warnings were given out, no citations or arrests, which he says he prefers.
But if there are people thumbing their nose and abusing it, putting their lives at risk because they're impacting the lives of others and ultimately setting back the cause of reopening the economy as quickly as we'd like to, I think we may have to do a little bit more.
Vehicle access is shut down to all 300 state parks, while dozens of those parks are completely closed. Newsom says he's working with city and county leaders who control parks and beaches the state does not.
The only thing that will set us back is our behavior.
Newsom says he has a meeting scheduled with police and sheriff's associations along with county leaders on how to avoid seeing these images over the next few weeks. In Sacramento, Ashley Zavala, KRON4 News.
Today, San Francisco health officials said the Bay Area has slowed the spread of the virus, but it's important not to lose the progress that's been made, and that is why the shelter-in-place orders have now been extended through May. KRON4's Dan Kerman reports from Golden Gate Park with details on today's announcement.
Closed businesses, empty streets, and people venturing out for only essential needs are the result of the stay-at-home order, which was to expire May 3rd. But now it's been extended for another month.
Unfortunately, we will need to extend the deadline for the stay-at-home order through the month of May.
In addition to San Francisco, the stay-at-home order will be extended in 5 other counties: Alameda, Contra Costa, Marin, San Mateo, and Santa Clara County. Public health officials say social distancing has flattened the curve, but COVID-19 remains a threat.
At this time, none of us can get complacent. We need to stand our ground and maintain our gains.
San Francisco Health Director Dr. Grant Colfax says hospitalizations, while relatively steady, need to go down significantly for 2 weeks before the shelter order can be lifted. He says there also must be more testing.
But in general, we need to increase our testing to 2 or 3 times what it currently is.
The extended shelter order will also come with some changes. The mayor did say JFK Drive in Golden Gate Park and Shelley Drive in McLaren Park will be closed to cars starting Tuesday to allow people more space to get outside. Now, later this week, public health officials are expected to announce what other restrictions will be eased during this extension. In San Francisco, Dan Kerman, KRON4 News.
Now to the number of local cases, and tonight here we have an updated look at the Bay Area curve since we've been under this stay-at-home order. The curve is still ascending, but it remains gradual. No sharp spikes. These are the newest numbers since March 23rd, with the total now standing at approximately 7,600 local cases. As for the number of deaths, We have 264 people who have died from the virus in the Bay Area as of today. Back on March 16th, when the shelter-in-place order was issued, there were just 4 deaths.
And although we are starting to flatten the curve, this is not the time to let up. That's according to one Bay Area doctor who's pretty concerned that people are getting too relaxed with social distancing. As KRON4's Michelle Kingston reports for us tonight, he doesn't want anybody throwing away their masks too early and repeating history.
The weather is getting warmer in the Bay Area and people are spending much more time outside.
This is not the time to start to waver in our commitment to shelter in place.
Dr. George Rutherford, an epidemiology professor at UCSF, says everyone should still be wearing a mask and keeping their distance from people because the number of coronavirus cases and deaths are still rising.
So it's, I think we're well out in front and we're winning. But it's not time for a victory lap. This thing could go south any moment. And there is the lesson of 1918, where they quit prematurely and ended up with 3,000 deaths in San Francisco in 1918.
Dr. Rutherford says San Francisco had one of the best records in the United States in 1918 during the Spanish flu pandemic.
And then basically came up to the end of people wearing masks. They had throw away your masks parties in November of 1918, after World War I ended. There was another huge wave of transmission, and San Francisco ended up having the worst record of any American city.
San Francisco Mayor London Breed echoing his words during her press conference on Monday.
So we are not out of the woods yet. And so we want to be very careful that we not take the steps out of frustration, out of concern. We don't move too quickly and repeat mistakes that have been made in our past history.
And the last thing we need is to have a spike of several hundred cases here this week, and because that's just going to set us back. And it's going to take longer and longer and longer to get away from shelter-in-place orders.
In the East Bay, Michelle Kingston, KRON4 News.
A grisly discovery was made Sunday in San Francisco's Sunset District. Police officers discovered a severed head in the refrigerator of an apartment while investigating a missing persons case.
The body has not yet been identified. KRON4's Maureen Kelly has the latest on the investigation.
KRON4 News has learned that just before 12 noon, investigators on Sunday, April 26, discovered a decomposed body inside this Sunset District apartment building. The victim's severed head was found in the refrigerator. A private investigator hired by the family of the missing person says police were here at 41-year-old Catano Perez's apartment located on the Great Highway near Moraga, investigating his disappearance. Here's the flyer showing Perez's picture. His family says their last contact with him was on April 10th. KRON4 News has also learned that San Mateo County law enforcement are now looking into the possibility that this crime is connected to the suspect killed in a fatal police shooting 2 weeks ago. 35-year-old Antioch resident Justin Silvernail has been identified as the man who South San Francisco police say went on a rampage starting at 5:30 a.m. Easter Sunday. Police say Silvernail attempted to carjack 2 different people at a Chevron gas station on Hickey Boulevard, stabbing an off-duty San Francisco police officer who tried to intervene. That officer shot the suspect, but Silvernail was still able to fight off South City officers who arrived on scene. And despite also being tased, they say Silvernail managed to get away, stealing one of the patrol cars. Silvernail was chased to a Kaiser Permanente medical facility parking lot in Daly City, where he rammed a police cruiser in pursuit. Police say it was after he got out of the car and confronted officers with a knife that officers fatally shot him. At this time, the connection between Silvernail and Catano Perez, the missing man, is unclear. A law enforcement source says that blood found on Silvernail's clothing is going to be tested to see if any of it matches that of the body found here on Sunday. Maureen Kelly, KRON4 News.
Coming up, we now know the first COVID-19 death in the U.S. was in Santa Clara County back in February. What we're learning tonight about how the virus caused that tragedy.
And more people are traveling by airplane despite stay-at-home orders across the country, why flight attendants say they feel unsafe and need more protection.
Plus, taking care of Bay Area farmers, why agriculture workers say they should get priority coronavirus testing.
And as we head to break tonight, here is a county-by-county breakdown of confirmed COVID-19 cases and deaths in the Bay Area. Keep it here. More news coming up right after this.